There we go.
Correct. I am Jackie Farrell. I am with the Communities for Kids team, and there is a collaboration between us, Rooted and Sixpence, to get this PDG 4.0 information out to you and to the communities.
Thank you. And then Deb.
Hi, my name is Deb Raymond, and I work with the Sixpence Child Care Partnerships Initiative.
Thank you. And Stacy.
Hi, I'm Stacy Skolton, and I work for the Rooted in Relationships Initiative.
Thank you. And again, if you haven't already put your name also with the community or county you are associated with in the chat, please do so. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get started on our presentation. Okay, again, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today to learn more about the opportunity to participate in activities through the Preschool Development Grant. Through our proud partnership with the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, we are excited to announce that your county has been selected to be part of the PDG 4.0 Planning Year Initiative through a contract with Nebraska Children and Families Foundation. Today, we're going to go over the highlights of the project that will include the overview, the timeline, allowable activities, next steps, and then we will have questions at the very end. We will have time for questions at the very end. If you'd like to put your questions in the chat throughout this presentation, feel free. We might just get to them at the very end. This is the official statement, which includes the federal grant number and partners involved with the Preschool Development Grant. You will see this statement on all documents and materials we provide in relation to the Preschool Development Project. We want to thank DHHS for partnering with us so that we're able to bring this opportunity to you. The Preschool Development Grant, which we are calling PDG 4.0, are new funds that have been awarded to Nebraska. This is a planning year grant, and it has a slightly different focus than the previous 3 years of PDG and C4K+. After this year, we're hopeful that we will receive another 3 years of PDG funding, but that is not guaranteed at this time. When working with providers, please remember to share with them that these funds are made possible through a partnership between DHHS and Nebraska Children. Internally, through Nebraska Children, we are working collaboratively between 3 different initiatives. That's Rooted in Relationships, Communities for Kids, and Sixpence. We're calling this project through PDG 4.0 Rooted Community Partnerships. There are 5 counties or areas that have been selected to participate in this. And those include Gage County, Otoe County, Columbus and Platte counties, Cherry County, and the Sand Hills Area Collaborative. And that includes Blaine, Loop, Garfield, Wheeler, Custer, Valley, Greeley, and Sherman counties. PDG 4.0 and the Rooted Community Partnership contracts are anticipated to run from March 1st, 2023 to December 31st of 2023. Community offers and contract dates are contingent upon receipt from DHHS of a finalized contract and funding amounts. Please note that after December 31st of 2023, there is no guarantee for continued PDG 4.0 funding or expansion of Rooted in Relationships or Sixpence into counties or communities that don't already have those initiatives. The PDG 4.0 Rooted Community Partnerships opportunity is a reimbursed-based contract that will include monthly reporting of expenditures, provider activity log, and supporting documentation. Expenditure reporting will be completed through web grants, and the focus of PDG 4.0 Rooted Community Partnerships will be on quality enhancement activities. Contracts will include funding for the Early Childhood Community Coordinator, or the community coordinator, current licensed provider quality enhancement activities, new provider licensing and quality enhancement activities, and fiscal sponsor administrative fees if applicable. Through these funds, ECCs or coordinators will work with providers to complete a provider agreement, which will give a baseline of activities they have previously completed and what they are interested in participating in over the course of 2023 and their plan to accomplish those activities. There will be a list provided of qualifying activities for Family Home 1, Family Home 2, centers, and licensed preschools. We will be providing a packet for each ECC that will include the list of approved activities, the amount receivable for each activity, the acceptable proof and evidence of activity completion, and a provider tracking log. We will go over all of these documents more in depth during the technical assistant meeting planning time. So in the next couple of weeks, a technical assistant will reach out to set up a meeting time to prepare documents for this contract. That meeting will include working with the ECC, core team, county group to create a work plan, budget, and budget justification on how these funds will be spent. We will go over the packet we are providing that will include templates for working with providers and information about what is needed for each qualified activity to be reimbursed. To give you sort of an idea, this is a quick snapshot of what the quality enhancement activities document will look like. There are approximately 5 pages of activities listed in different tiers. Each tier is a different amount, and amounts for each tier will vary between Family Home 1, Family Home 2, centers, and licensed preschools. This is a small snapshot of the acceptable proof of activity completion document. This lists what will be accepted from providers for reimbursement of completed activities. Again, this is a longer list, but here are the first 2 so you can get an idea of what this document looks like. To the left is the listed activity, and to the right is what we will accept as proof that the activity was completed. This documentation will need to be submitted with the expenditure report for reimbursement. Again, to reiterate, the tentative timeline is from March 1st through December 31st. This is the period of performance when all these funds must be expended. Now, we will open it up for any questions you may have regarding this opportunity. Please feel free to list your questions in the chat, or you can unmute yourself to ask your question.
We know that was pretty fast and furious, so it may take some time to process things too. And like Tava said, we will be setting up those meetings after this to go over things in more detail. You'll get the packet with the information, what's required. And it is, like we said, just a little bit different focus than the original PDG. We're not doing, this one won't include the early learning scholarships or it's quality enhancement, but kind of in a different way than we had the quality funds before.
If a provider already has met like a lot of those standards, do we still get those benefits or not?
We are starting from March 1st. So there will be a provider agreement form that providers will go through and kind of check off what has already been completed through March 1st. And then there will be additional opportunities that you can hopefully you've not completed every single thing that we have listed on. If you have, that's awesome. But hopefully there are some other additional items that you can work towards that would be in the different tiers for that time frame between March 1st and December 31st.
And we really went, it's a very thorough list of quality improvement activities. Like we said, I think there's like 6 pages, and really looked at many of our different organizations in Nebraska and what they individually offer. So there's a wide array of opportunities that providers can choose from.
Looks
There
like
are a couple of questions in the chat, if we want to go to those. Teresa asked, if the funds are only payable upon completion for the providers? And so, yeah, these are funds that once they complete them between that time frame of March 1st to December 31st, then that documentation can be submitted and they can get reimbursed for completing those new activities. And like Deb said, there are 5 or 6 pages of activities. So hopefully if we have a provider who's done all of them, that is like absolutely incredible. And they should get like a round of a standing ovation, because that's pretty incredible. But I think there'll be something on the list maybe that at least should be able to hit at least each of the providers.
And some of them are very simple, where, getting a NECPERS account, where, taking a screenshot and sending that in, that's a very basic one. Getting all 6 ELGs completed, that's a little more timely, and it takes a lot more time. So getting those certificates in. So we're going to be able to meet the needs of the very new provider, or also the very experienced provider as well.
And then we have a question from Roberta, and it says, is the documentation needed as shown in the presentation needed for fiscal documentation and or narrative reporting?
It is needed specifically for documentation for reimbursement. So we'll need that to come in with the expenditure report to show that there was proof that they completed. Roberta, did that answer your question?
Yeah, so we don't need to include that like in our narrative necessarily, or will there be a narrative report due at any point, or simply the fiscal?
Pretty much just the fiscal part. We might send out a Survey Monkey, to see how things are going. But mostly just the fiscal reporting.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Leanne asked, is there a recommended % split of funding for activities and the ECCC? Yes, Leanne, that is all split out. That information was sent to the county contacts that we had, the lead, ECCC, or the coordinator. And there is an amount that's specified for the coordinator. There's an amount specified for the administrative fee, and then for the activity fees. And it kind of gives an up to amount on these documents for what providers are eligible for. And it is all separated out, like Tava said, for Family Home 1, Family Home 2 centers, and licensed preschools. So there's different amounts, different tiers funding, different tiered funding amounts, and then an up to amount that they could earn. Kim, that's a good question. Are there options for speakers of other languages? We will do our best to work with you and the providers and get them what they need and help with translation.
Yeah, great question.
Other questions anyone has?
How does it work when I am the coordinator for our area and I'm also the provider for my area? How does that work for the funding? I don't think I'm like double dipping or something. So
Yeah. So that's probably a conversation that we need to have maybe with you off camera to figure out how that's going to look. There isn't as much funding because you're technically not an early childhood community coordinator through the PDG funds, but you are a community coordinator. So there's a lesser amount of funds, so we'll have to lay out what that looks like. And each of those communities in the Sandhills will probably do that with all of you to lay out what what does that look like when you are the provider and the coordinator? And so we make sure that we're not double dipping. So Adoria, we'll visit with you about that.
And Shauna did a great job of adding some additional options that are on that list of activities that we have. A few of them that are already available in Spanish. So hopefully that will be a resource that will be helpful. And if there's additional ones that the communities are interested in, please let us know and we'll see what we can do for those other activities.
Nicole,
There's another question. Yeah, I'm gonna let you take this next question.
yeah, so it says the current funding ends April 2023, which is for PDG. The new funding will overlap, or this new funding will overlap since it's starting in March 2023. Anything we will need to change on our end for our coordinators. So that's, we might look at switching coordinator time to this PDG funding. We'll need to figure out where you're at with it's going to be an individual meeting again to figure out where each coordinator is with their current PDG funding. And if we need to split time or if we just need to move it over or what that specifically looks like. So we can visit with everyone about that. And again, we don't want to be double dipping between quality activities we're doing with current PDG and to this PDG. So we'll need to work through that when we create the budget and budget justification to make sure that it's not overlapping or double dipping.
Jill asked the question, when should we be expecting packets with more information?
I believe that will be provided to you at a meeting that will be scheduled with a technical assistant in the next few weeks.
Then another question from Corey, do all communities being offered this PDG 4.0 contract have to accept? I don't anticipate communities not accepting, but if they don't, does this change the dollars allocated to counties? Corey, we're hoping that doesn't happen. We're hoping everyone says, yes, we want to try this out and help us move this planning year forward. If it doesn't, if a community decides they don't want to participate, we're going to have to revisit that and see, work with our partners at DHHS to figure out what we do from here and see if that's allocate additional funds or if that's finding a community in replacement. Cheryl, your question, will it be up to each community or each community get the word out to their providers? Yes, we also anticipate hopefully in the next few months doing a road show, which some of you have participated in a provider gallery walk. So we would like to do something, not the exact provider gallery walk, what we do for Communities for Kids, but do a road show where we have additional services available, like the early childhood collaboration, and bring some people with us to do an event for providers to help get the word out about what's going on. You will still have the same TA, but in addition, you're going to have Tava as a TA for PDG 4.0, who's working specifically on this project, but she will work alongside your current TA for Communities for Kids, along with if anyone has Sixpence childcare partnerships or the Rooted in Relationships, they'll work alongside those TAs too.
And we know that you don't have Sixpence or Rooted, which is kind of why we're choosing your communities, right? Because we don't have a presence in your communities yet. So you will see Stacy and I periodically as well to help guide you through the year.
And then Kim asked, can any of this funding be used to assist new providers to become licensed, or is all the funding for current licensed providers? We have tons of different options for those to become licensed, and there actually is a whole section and a tier about the training that you have to do beforehand and getting a provisional license and a current license. So it's really kind of an encouragement for those who aren't licensed to become licensed.
Other questions anyone has? All right. Well, seeing there are no other questions, that didn't take us too long today. We'll give you an extra half hour back in your day, and you will be hearing from Tava soon about next steps. And if a community is or a county is truly not interested in participating, please let us know as soon as possible so we can figure out our next steps and your next steps.
Yes.
Jen, can you put something into the chat real quick? This is Roberta.
Yes, you can have the slides, and we'll also send out the recording.
Yep, because I know this was a lot of information just thrown at everybody. So I will definitely be sending out the recording of this meeting, and I'll also go ahead and include the slides from this presentation along with it. But thank you guys so much for joining us all today. I'm really excited to get to work with all of you and get to know your communities a little bit better. Thank you guys all so much.
Have a great day. Ava, you can stop recording.
Kind of forgot I was recording.